Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to the wonderful world of chess. This is Coach Mitch with a new series of lessons based on Know Your Mating Patterns. This week's lesson, the first one in the series, is on Damiano's mate. So what I'll do is I'll show you a position. I'll ask you to think of some ideas. Then we'll examine Damiano's mate, and then we'll come back to this position. So let's look at this position. It is white to play. Material is equal. What would you do here? Pause the video, look. Don't pause too long because I want to get to the lesson. Okay, I hope you got a look at it. So what we'll do first is we'll look at this position. This is, from Black's point of view, conveniently, it's up, everything's happening in the upper left of the screen, right around here. The queen is giving check. The pawn protects the queen, and the pawn also takes away the escape square. And this rook takes away the escape square from the king. So this is checkmate. Let's take it back one move. By the way, the pawn supports the queen and takes away the square. The queen gives check, takes away that square, and the pawn takes away this square. No place for the king to move. I hope you understand that. Let's go back. And what move would you play for Black in this position? Yeah, that's easy. Queen h2 checkmate. Now, let's take it back further. In this position, it's checkmate in two moves. You're going to do it with the queen, but the queen's pretty far away. But if you play queen h8 check, the king, only legal move. Notice the bishop. Okay, the bishop can block for one move, but then I think this is checkmate because the bishop takes away the square. So the other legal move is king there. And then do you see what you do? Right, queen h7 checkmate. Let's take it back another move. Now the queen's far away, the rook's in the way, and the rook is in the way of the queen, and the king's not even in check. So what you do is you play rook check, king takes rook, queen h8 check, king g1, and then queen h7 check. Same pattern, we're just taking away one move at a time. Let's go back. And then in this position, the queen wants to give check on h2, but there's a rook in the way and it's far away. So what you do is you give check with the rook. The king goes away. Now the rook's in the way. Rook can't give a checkmate in this type of pattern. Has to be a queen. So the rook gives itself away so that the queen can come with tempo, meaning with a forcing move, a check, so the white can't do whatever he wants to do. The king moves to g8, g1. It's confusing because I'm not used to being from Black's point of view. I might have said the wrong square earlier. And then queen h2 checkmate. Let's take it back further. And in this position, do you see what to do now? The queen wants to get to h2, but there are two rooks in the way. So you just give them away. Rook h1 check. And by the way, that was the last move of the game. Alex Baborin, very strong grandmaster, resigned at this moment because he saw what was going to happen. King takes rook, rook h1, rook h8, I should say. Again, getting confused because the board is flipped. King g1, rook h1, king takes, queen h8, queen h7, checkmate. And so that's Damiano's mate. Damiano was a very strong player in the 16th century, a very important writer from Italy. As a matter of fact, we think he was the one who came up with the phrase, when you see a good move, look for a better. Uh, and if a Grandmaster game 400 years later could follow the same pattern, it shows you how you have to know your patterns. You should always do the simple checkmate puzzles, the checkmates in one, the checkmates in two. Now we're going to go to a game that was played this century. This was played by me. This was an internet chess game played December 30th, 2009. So the game lasted less than 10 minutes. I estimate the game went 8 minutes. I was white, and we'll go through the game quickly, and when we get to the important point, I'll slow down a little. So again, bring out your control the center, open up lines for the bishops. Get ready to castle. Whatever I tell you guys to do, I do the same thing. Okay, that's a good move. So again, if you could put 2 pawns in the center safely, you do it, because they control all these squares. And this bishop can come out, this bishop can come out. Ideal moves. Attacks my e pawn, so I defend it. Okay, now the principal move, the Coach Mitch move in this position, is to play knight f3. What it does is, the most popular move here is pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, queen takes queen, king takes queen. But I feel that when you're playing with white, you're just not getting enough of an advantage by trading queens. Sure, black can't castle, but it's actually not such a big deal, because the black queen will find a good home after he plays this move, and he'll put the king on eventually on the c7 square. So that's not how I play. I want to get more from the position, so I just attack. Now I have 2 attackers, 1 defender. He has another defender. This is called the Philidor system. Philidor was the best player in the world in the 18th century. He was from France. I don't play this way for black. It's not my style. But grandmasters play it, and even top grandmasters play it. So again, just develop, bring out your bishop. Now, that move has become much more popular in the last 10, 15 years. I didn't think so at the time. I just thought it's a waste of time. You generally don't want to move a rook pawn, an H or an A pawn, to keep a bishop from coming out if the bishop has other good squares. So I could play it to E3, and then my bishop's on a great square, and you wasted the move. But it turns out it's part of an idea that's become very popular this century. So I castle. I tell you to castle. I'm going to castle too. He's developing. Bring out my rook where it protects the pawn. He's going to try to attack this pawn a lot with the knight, and maybe even when he castles, to bring the rook to the e file and attack it this way. So defend my center. C6. And now sometimes your moves have to be guided, not just what you want to do, but what your opponent wants to do. And my opponent wants to play the move b5 to attack my bishop. He wants to put the bishop here. Sorry, he wants to put the pawn there where it attacks my bishop. So I stop him. This is simple chess. He brings out the queen to a reasonably good square where it protects the center. Now, this is the one move of the game that was criticized by my computer. Every other move was pretty good. But I still like it. This is a very annoying move. It puts a lot of pressure on the b6 square. Oops, that shouldn't have done that. It puts a lot of pressure on the b6 square. And it also puts a lot of pressure on the A file. I was taught this move I learned about this move in the late 1970s when I was first starting to play, and it's a very annoying move for black to meet long term. It does waste a move when I'm still not developed, but I actually find this move very annoying, which is why I sort of like it. But it's not the best move. Knight f8. So I just bring out my queen. Now, once my opponent played g5, he's saying, I'm going to get your king. And if I play very slowly, he'll get my king. So what I do is I need to rip the game open. So I play pawn takes pawn, just to open the lines into the center, because this king is still in the center. Takes, bring the bishop back. I think my idea is to put the queen to c4. Another idea is to put a knight on c4. So he attacks my bishop. Now, I'm going to take with the knight, and I'm going to have my knights. If he takes my bishop, I take with the knight. And my knights are starting to attack squares around here, and his king is still in the center. So I'm pretty happy. He castles queenside. Whoa. Well, he has to castle somewhere. And he made these moves in front of on this side, so it's dangerous to castle that way. So that seems reasonable. I'm actually very happy with my position. Again, I slowly migrate my pieces towards his king. I'm just going to pause for a second. Yeah, there were some technical difficulties. So my last move. Okay, so I hope I got the technical difficulties out of the way. My last move, I brought the knight to c4. I'm slowly moving my pieces towards his king, which I guess is that way. So he's moving his pieces towards my king. So it's an exciting game. I finally connect my rooks, bring out my bishop, aiming towards his king, towards this pawn. And because of this move, which I did on move, I think 9, he can't play b6 because I have 1, 2, 3 attackers on the square. He has 2 defenders. So again, this move, which not the best move at the time, but I knew it would be very useful. So he attacks my queen. Now there's no way in the world I play bishop takes knight because I need that bishop to attack him. Bring my queen back where it's nice and safe. And now here we get the position that I opened the video. So here, let's pause again if you didn't get it right the first time. What move can black play? Sorry. What move can white play to win material? And I'll give you a hint. It's based on Damiano's mate. Please pause your video and look if you can't find it. And after a couple minutes, if you can't find it, we'll just go through it. Okay, so let me show you what I did. Whoa, I put a bishop on a square where it could be captured by 2 pieces. Well, one of them, the queen can't capture it because I'll just take the queen, but the pawn can capture it. Oh, and by the way, if the queen doesn't capture it and runs away, which is what it probably should do, then I win a rook for a bishop, and that's a pretty big advantage. I would still have to figure out how to win the game, but I'm up material and I'd be for choice. So let's go back. But what happens if he takes? Well, I take back with the pawn. Starting to look familiar. Now the queen doesn't have too many places to move to. That's safe. As a matter of fact, the computer thinks you should just give the queen up, probably play to d6, and I just play knight takes queen. Because what happens if he goes to d2, d7? Do you see what happens? Pause if you need to see it. Okay, let's go through it. Then if you follow what happened in the Damiano's mate, white will play rook a8 check, only legal move, rook a1 check, look familiar? Yeah, and he resigned here. Now he could throw in bishop, he can block for one move, but that doesn't really stop it. That doesn't change anything. Check. And in the other position, there was a rook on this square, which here is c8. But in this position, he can go to c8. And now do you see the checkmate? That move. So I found all those moves probably in 4 minutes of thinking time at the most. It was a blitz game online. I looked on a computer recently just to check it. And it was actually a pretty high level. I think there was only one minor mistake I made, a5, and I still like that move. And it shows you, if you're familiar with the common mating patterns, it makes it easier to find the right move. Sorry for the fumbles with the technical difficulties and the naming of the squares, but I hope you enjoyed that video, and there should be more coming up pretty soon. Bye.